Hi. Feels like a comedy night. I should tell a joke. So, I mean, wow. I mean, how do I follow? How do I follow the amazing speaker? Can we have a round of applause, please, for the speakers tonight? I think they deserve a round of applause. How amazing. I don't have a bad story to tell you. I'm really sorry. I had a good upbringing. I was relatively lucky as a child, and I don't need a lawyer yet. But that being said, I want to give something to you people for being here and enduring me talk. So I want to give you the option. Would you like me to talk about websites or my journey? It's completely up to you. Websites, okay. All right, then fuck it. We'll talk about, well, look. I put a thing out on social media and I told people to bring £10. Did anyone do that? Interesting. Has anyone heard me speak before? No. You have. Where did you hear me speak? Les Brown. I spoke on stage with Les Brown. That was pretty impressive. I know, right? He's like the Black Tony Robbins. It's not racist. It just is. So, I mean, let me backtrack a little bit if you want me to talk about my story. Is that when I was younger, I always knew I wanted to do something with my life, but I spent a long time struggling to figure out just what it was. Yeah, and there's like Baz Luhrmann did a brilliant song about it, and you know, the most interesting people he said he's met at 30 don't know what they want to do with their life, and the people at 40 still don't know. And I was like, I just didn't have a clue what it is that I wanted to do with my life, and I know there's a lot of people in that situation. So, to cut a long story short, I just bashed through life in the best way that I possibly could. Worked in McDonald's, so I've been there. It's probably the best job I've ever had, to be fair. I loved it. We used to play the Muckuk Olympics, you know. Every time you had a burger, we used banging it across the floor before you... No, I'm joking. It was never like... Maybe it was like that. Just don't eat fast food. That's the easy answer. So we used to get on really well, me and my friends, and it was great. And then at about 16, 17 years old, I decided I wanted to do something in my life. I didn't know what it was. And I was going to my mum, and my mum and dad had split up. So I used to have to get on the bus, and bus? Who gets on a... I mean, unless you live in London, no one gets on a bus anymore. I used to get on a bus and go to my mum's house, and I remember sitting there one day, and I was sitting on this bus, and I was looking across, and there was this old lady on the bus, and bless her, she was lovely. I'm going to call her Ethel. I don't know why, but she looked like an Ethel. She had that little bit of stubble, you know, that at that age I was trying to grow, and I couldn't, and she already had it. I was really jealous of her in a little way. But to be fair, it was one of those bus rides when I was just contemplating life and thinking, what am I going to do? I'm working in McDonald's. I'm a bit hopeless, really. I've got no ambition, no drive. I wanted to work in computers, and that failed. And so I was like, what do I want to do? And there was this sign. And it wasn't like one of those, oh, it was just a sign. It was literally a sign on a bus. And it just said, join the army, be the best. And I was like, well, I've never been the best at anything, but join the army. Wow, what an opportunity. Go and travel the world, get out of Essex, no offence. I know some of you live here, and I live there too at the moment. But yeah, it was an opportunity to get out of Essex, and it was an opportunity to go and live my life. And so I joined the army, and I did 6 years. And the only reason that I did 6 years was because my parents told me I wouldn't last 5 minutes. And I was determined to prove them wrong, no matter what it took. So I did 6 years. I spent 3.5 in Germany, and it was amazing. Really, really loved it. It made me a man, because at the time I was a yappy little shit. I was a little Essex boy. I was like, yeah, what? You all right? You want to go, Tom? Yeah, rah, 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 and all that. And you've heard them all on The Only Way is Essex, and they're just like that. And so it really sort of made me step up as a human being. You know, not as a man or a woman, or as we talk about people, but as just a human being. Like, I went through this evolution in myself because I had to. And what the army does, and it's brilliant, it's absolutely phenomenal, not a lot of people see this, is they are the masters at NLP. You look at Richard Bandler, you look at Tony Robbins, they don't know shit compared to the army. Because the army will build you up until you think you're a god, and then they'll break you down. And then they'll build you up just a little bit higher, and they'll break you down. And then they'll build you up again just a little, and they'll break you down. And they'll do that until it is ingrained in your subconscious that you do what it is that you need to do. And Tony Robbins, they try to teach this, and they do it in the best way possible. And they're amazing at what they do. But when you live and breathe this experience with other people, because doing it on your own is one thing, but when you do it with a tribe, when you do it with a community, it happens a lot quicker. I promise you that. And so me and my band of brothers, or whatever you want to call us, my squaddy mates, we would go out and we would get drunk and we would tear up the town, and then we would go and we would play soldiers and we would do what we were meant to do. Until the point when I just decided that enough is enough. I didn't believe what I was doing was for the right reason. I looked at people 5, 6 years down the line from me in the same job, and I thought, fuck that. And I wanted more. And I don't know if you've ever felt that inside. Like, if you don't know what it is you want to do, there is nothing wrong with that at all. If inside you know you're meant for something, you'll find it. I swear to God, I promise you, you'll find it. And for me, I wanted fame and fortune. You know, I wanted the glitzy. I mean, we're in Mayfair, for fuck's sake. Come on. You know, I wanted that life. I did. I wanted it. You know, who doesn't want to earn money? Who doesn't want to be secure? Who doesn't want to have who doesn't want to have the gadgets and the fun and just to be able to, even if you don't do it, just to be able to do it. Yeah, we all want that. If you don't, then not everyone does. I get that. But most people, you know, you'd like to experience it. And so for me, I gave up that security. I gave up that job security to be able to go and live a life of freedom. And what I found is that when you leave the army, what happens is they say, can you stand up? Can you look after yourself? Okay, we're gonna stand back now. Are you okay? Are you okay? We're done. And what happens is you go through life and you just crash through, bouncing. Because when you leave the army, it's like, oh, shiny objects. And you get all excited. I can go and get drunk. No one's going to tell me to get up in the morning and I'm in my fucking uniform. And so you go through life thinking that you're invincible and that you have this amazing ability to do whatever it is that you want to do because you once had that with your friends and with your colleagues. And what happens is sort of 12, 18, 24 months down the line, I mean, PTSD, that can lay dormant for 13 years. Maybe longer. I mean, I'm not qualified in that, but I know it can. So what happens is that you go through life and everything's absolutely fine at first. And then you start to question yourself. Who am I? What am I? What am I meant to do with my life? These deep burning questions that make you question what it is that you're doing. And when you get those questions inside you, you start to say, I'm not a civilian, but I'm not a squaddy. What am I? That's probably one of the most difficult questions you can ask yourself is, what am I? Who am I? For me, I found my identity in gambling. Because I wasn't a drunk, I wasn't into drugs, I wasn't any of the things I wanted to be. I wasn't successful, that's for fucking sure, I can promise you that. So all these things that I wanted to be and I wasn't, so I had to start looking for something to just grab hold of, to attach to. What can I be? Who am I? Because at the basis of everything in this room, every single one of you has an identity. And like we heard from some of our speakers, if that identity is stripped from you, you have to find that meaning in whatever it is that you do. And for me, I found it in gambling. That was my addiction. It was my escapism. To the point that I went bankrupt. I went bankrupt. It was only about 30 grand. It wasn't a lot of money at the time, but it was enough for me to go bankrupt. And to cut a long story short, I crashed from relationship, from job to job. And basically, I ended up at the point when I said, right, enough is enough. And I met my childhood sweetheart. Great, everything was going to go really well. I was a lorry driver at the time because here's the thing, and this is something I haven't told you about me. I've been homeless 3 times. One of those times I lived in a car for 6 months. And have you ever left a dog in a car? I'm not a dog, but I'm just saying, have you ever heard of someone that's left a dog in a car? Because no one's going to admit it, are they? What a stupid question that was I just asked. Who's going to admit they've done that? But you know them stories of when dogs get left in cars? Well, it happens to humans too. And we had a hot day one year. Oh, that's fucking crazy, right? We had this hot day in summer in England, and I wasn't expecting it either. I woke up, I was living in my car, and I woke up and I couldn't breathe. And if you haven't experienced it, then you probably can't understand. You can try and relate, but if you've ever been that experience of complete delusion, I woke up, I didn't know who I was, where I was panicking, so I was trying to breathe and I couldn't because there was no oxygen in the car. So every time I tried to go, there was, and then it freaks you out, and so you panic even more, and as a result of that, that's how people die in those situations. And so I'm not saying, oh my God, this is a really bad situation, because something happened. Maybe it was my guardian angel, I don't know. Maybe it was your guardian angel. Maybe I borrowed her, but something happened. Something happened, and I basically managed to open the car door. And all I remember from this situation is me licking the curb, drooling, breathing, and that I was so fucking grateful for air. Air. I mean, air. Air. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I took it for granted for so long. So I know I've got to wrap up. I know I'm at the end of my 10 minutes, and I am really sorry. So I just want to share a really quick story with you, if that's okay. Because in all of this journey, can everybody see this? I'm not Schmeagol, don't worry. This isn't Lord of the Rings. My precious. Basically, I'd been on my journey for such a long time that I was lost. I'd found the love of my life. Everything was going really well. We had a business. The business went south. I didn't talk to my family for 3 years, to the point that I had to live in a shed, and I had to try and find my feet on my own without my family and without anyone around. And when I went bankrupt, by the way, my family used to throw money at me to try and help me, because they were doing the best they could. But here's the thing, if someone's got a problem, throwing money at a problem doesn't solve the problem. You need to go to the root cause. Yeah, I do a lot of work with the homeless people, right, in London. And if someone's on the streets in London, it's because where they are on the streets is better than what they've just come from, 9 times out of 10. Okay? So what I'm going to say to you now, and if it's all right if I've got a couple of minutes, is that I went to an event. It was the Yes Group in Essex. And if anyone's ever heard of the Yes Group, I used to be the chairman of it. It was a fantastic organisation. I got invited to this event. I was homeless. I didn't have anywhere to go. I found accommodation. I went to the Yes Group. I got invited to an event. I had a car which was so banged up, I had to leave. I went to the MMI. If anyone's ever heard of the Millionaire Mind Intensive, it was an event in London. So I went to Earls Court to this event. I didn't have the money to pay for the congestion charge, so I had to leave early at 4 o'clock in the morning to get around it. I got to London on fumes, and I put my car into the Ibis car park with no clue how to get it back out. I went to this, and I'd love to carry on telling you the story. I'm sorry, I've got to cut it short. But basically, when I went to this event, I slept in my car that night. People at the event found out that I slept in my car, and they paid for a hotel room for me. And I made some amazing friends from that. And from that, I then went to UPW. Because what happened at MMI is everyone was coming in and out and doing the same thing. And a lot of people, you'll see this, people do the same thing day in, day out. We all do routine. Okay, we're human, it's habitual, we all have a routine. And so everyone's routine was at a break. What do you do at an event when there's a break? You go for a piss, you get a beer, it's what you do. But I was thinking differently to everyone else. I was like, no, I am not leaving this event unless my life changes now. I made a certain pact with myself that my life was going to change. And so what I did is I jumped up on stage, and I wasn't allowed to, because I believe you should beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. That's why I'm going longer. I'll apologise later. But this is what I'll tell you. I jumped up on stage and I ripped a sheet off of the flip chart. They have these jars, if you've ever been to M&I, you'll understand them. I took the educational jar, which was about putting money in it to save up for your education. I went outside the VIP entrance and I put can build websites. I couldn't. Can build websites will work for my education, and I sat and busked outside the VIP entrance. I got 200 business cards and I got 20 quid. That 20 quid got my car out of the car park and got me home. That's how skint I was. And that started my career where I started building websites. Now, I truly wish I had more time to tell you more about this story. But the reason I took my ring off and showed you is because I posted a Facebook post in in January last year. And I said, I want to go to America. I've never been to America. I want to go. And the reason is because I want to surprise a girl that I've never met for Valentine's Day. See, all the men are like, you prick, and all the women are like, oh, it's lovely, so sweet. If only he was better looking. I tell you what happened. I had about 200 comments on my Facebook post. One of them was a good friend of mine called Mark Summers. And he said, this is a little bit crazy, but maybe I've had a bit too much to drink. I'm sponsoring an event. I'm sponsoring an event in San Diego. And if you'll help me at this event, I'll pay for your flight and accommodation. So I said, okay, let me just think. Okay. I went to Las Vegas and I surprised this girl for Valentine's Day. I went back to America in November. I went to Las Vegas. Now, the reason I went to Las Vegas was because I got invited to speak, because I'm really blessed now. I get invited to speak all over the world at events on websites and how to do stuff with websites. And I haven't got time to talk about it. I'm really sorry. But what happened at that event is the girl that I'd met in February before, I married her. And that's what that ring is. Because I believe in one thing, and I'm going to leave you with this. It is not about what you have. It is not about what you've got in your life that makes you who you are. It is about what you do with what you've got. Okay, it is resourcefulness, not resources. And so when you go home tonight, I just challenge you to look at what you've got and what you can do with that. Because as our African friend said here, you may be in hell, but he's living in fucking heaven. Thank you.